Hey guys, good afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. We're really excited to be featuring a very cool program at one of my favorite grantee institutions. I just spent this weekend out at Indiana University in lovely Bloomington, Indiana, and get to check out all their cool limestone buildings. But we're super excited today to be talking about the Businesses Global Program. This is a really highly innovative program that's based out of their Center for International Business Education and Research, and really reaches out to high school students who have not had a lot of exposure to world languages, to different areas, and to international business, and takes a really integrative approach and an innovative approach to get them to think about all three together. So with us today, we have Christine Davis from IU's CIBER. Christine's the Director of Programs at the Indiana University Institute for International Business. She's been with the Kelley School since 1991 and with the IIB since June of 2010. I spent some time with Christine and her team earlier in the week, and I got to tell you, these folks are committed. We also have with us Emily Bagienski. Emily joined the IIB in 2013 and serves as the program manager for the IU CIBER and the Businesses Global Program. Before joining the IIB, Emily lived in Japan for 2 years teaching English as a world language to elementary and junior high students in areas that were affected by the 2011 earthquake. So certainly some really important work there. You guys probably don't want to hear me talk too much, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. I just want to, before we start, say thank you to my team, Miss Carolyn Collins over here, who's been managing this, and the rest of my team behind me. There's Cheryl Gibbs. I know she doesn't want to be on camera, but we put her on anyway. And we've got some interns. We've got Christine Micah. We've got Jaden Marionetti from my team. So everybody says hello from IFLE. Let's go and get started, Carolyn.
Now the presenter. All right. Well, awesome. Welcome, everyone. Emily and I are super excited to be here. We love Businesses Global. It's actually my baby, so I love talking about it. And so we'll just jump right in and get started. Okay, so just to give you a basic overview of the program. As Mohammed said, it's an outreach activity through our CIBER grant, and we started the program back during the 2010-2014 grant cycle. The first summer we ran the program was summer of 2013, so basically right in the middle of the last grant cycle, and it's a 2-week residential summer program for high school students where sorry, I got distracted by the note. we cover the intersection of business, language, and culture. And I think the interesting thing, and it makes me really excited to hear Mohammed talk about the program and the innovation, we were kicking around running multiple 1-week programs, doing a program potentially in Mandarin, a program on Swahili, and Arabic, and then I was actually in the shower one morning and was thinking to myself, well, what would nerdy Christine pick? You know, if I was in high school still, it's like, how would I decide which program I wanted to do? And I thought we should combine them. And so it all happened basically as a shower thought back in 2012. And so it took a while to get it up and running. But now this is the program that we have, and we absolutely love it. Okay, so with any academic program, of course, we have learning objectives. And so one of the things we clearly wanted to do, and one of the issues we have here in the state of Indiana is funding across K-12 has been cut, and language programs have been cut quite a bit across the state. And so many schools, if they're offering language, are only offering, you know, Spanish, sometimes French, and a few schools are lucky and are offering some less commonly taught languages. But so one of the things we wanted to do was increase awareness and interest in less commonly taught languages among high school students. and then also instill an appreciation for diverse cultures and increase cross-cultural competencies. Indiana is a fairly homogeneous state, I think it's safe to say. Not a lot of diversity, especially in the small towns. Many of the towns are still quite rural and lots of farming communities, so we wanted to spread that access across the state. We also want to prepare participants to demonstrate an understanding of how language and cross-cultural skills enhance career opportunities in business. Oftentimes here at the university, we see people saying, oh, well, you do business and I do language and culture, and they don't meet in the middle. And so this program is a great way to show how everything is tied together. And leading on to that, introducing options and possibilities of diverse international business careers. The possibilities today are endless. But again, when you're from a really small town, you don't know what those possibilities even are. So this is a great way to expose the kids to that. And then finally, provide a hands-on practical application of skills and knowledge through a final team presentation, which of course scares the kids half to death when you say you're going to do a presentation in front of a faculty panel, at a college faculty panel. And so that, pushes their presentation experience, which is great, and they definitely rise to the challenge. So those are the learning objectives for the program, and I'm going to turn it over to Emily to talk more about the program curriculum.
Thank you, Christine. So as was mentioned earlier, there are really three main pillars that we have to the program curriculum, and that's business, language, and culture. And throughout the whole 2 weeks of the program, we really tried to emphasize not only building skills and knowledge within the individual pillars, but also how these three pillars interact and support each other. So we start out, we have introductory business classes that are taught by Kelley faculty here at Kelley School of Business. We base the format of the business curriculum on one particular course here at Kelley. It's X170, How Business Works, and it's a required course for all incoming freshmen in the, who are direct admits. And it's just a really great setup where you have a management professor, you have finance, operations, and marketing, and you have a professor from each of the different sort of concentrations within Kelley, but then they're also talking about the same project, the same business case, and so it really does give you a comprehensive how to do business. We also, of course, do language. As Christine said, we have 3 languages that we partner with each year. They have free days each of each language. And to complement the language, we also have culture sessions that match up with the language that they are learning. And the culture sessions and the language sessions as well, because you really can't have language without culture, they really give insights to how the culture might be useful to doing business. They're also fun activities. But so an example that we love to do is we have with our Swahili group, we do a cooking demonstration on some East African food culture. As some of you may know, East Africa is a very relationship-driven culture. It's very common for people to conduct business during a meal, so it's very important to know about the food and know about the food culture if you're doing business in East Africa. And then, as we mentioned earlier, we do have a team business competition, and the purpose of the team project is to kind of get students to apply and combine all 3 pillars of the program in sort of one deliverable that they can really take home and be proud of. So the students are assigned to a target city in one of the cultures that we discussed, so Team Beijing, Team Nairobi, Team Istanbul. And in the second week of the program in their business classes, they work through a very simple business case called Kristen's Cookies. And Kristen is a college student, and she's baking cookies in her dorm room for Christmas, and she wants to sell her Christmas cookies to other students in her dorm. So it's your classic American lemonade stand. So what we asked our students is, what would something like this look like in this other city? What would something like that look like in Beijing, in Dar es Salaam, in Ankara, in Turkey? And so they have to create a very basic business plan using a tool called the Business Model Canvas, and that is our textbook for the program, is the Business Model Generation. So they create the very basic business model, but they have to, along the way, make sure they're paying attention to the cultural specifics of their city. So for example, when you're talking about startup costs, one cultural thing is, oh, is it rude in your country or in your city to directly hand someone money? If the answer is yes, then maybe you need to have in your startup costs to buy a money tray so that you are not insulting people by handing them their change. And the third way we incorporate language in is we tell the students as they're working on their business plan, they have to somehow incorporate a proverb in the native language of the city. So the example I love to use is one group chose a Swahili proverb, haraka haraka haina baraka, which means hurry, hurry has no blessings. And they used this to highlight that they wanted all of their orders to be customizable. They wanted each customer to have the best quality experience. And so they wanted to take their time, give them a good experience, rather than turning out as many as they possibly could. And so I thought that was a very creative way to incorporate the language into their project. And of course, lastly, it's any time you work with high school students, it's never just about the curriculum. There's always going to be that aspect of career building and professional development and personal development. And so we also have sessions with the Kelly Undergraduate Career Services Office. They do sessions such as what is a resume, how do you build a resume, professionalism and networking. We try to have a networking event while they're here. This picture is actually from our networking lunch from last summer. We have a high school student, and who is that?
She's with Eli Lilly.
Eli Lilly. Yes, so the CFO of Eli Lilly. So they learn about it in class sessions and they get to put it into practice. And we have other things that we do, team building and leadership exercises, and of course just the fact that they're on a college campus, living in a dorm for 2 weeks, in charge of their own meal plan. It's definitely an opportunity for personal growth.
So we do, obviously, a lot of interdepartmental collaboration. The Kelly School obviously does not have the expertise all in-house, and IU is very fortunate that we have a lot of strong language and culture departments. And so back in 2013, during the first year of the program, we offered Portuguese, Arabic, and Swahili. And so we partnered with the appropriate language departments and then also our Swahili Flagship Center. They were all instrumental in helping us build, obviously, the language and culture pieces. And the culture pieces are always a little bit more challenging to line up because we want more interactive types of sessions. And although IU has so much to offer, the program takes place in the summer when, of course, the majority of students are not on campus. So our other departments have been fantastic in helping us execute. Last summer, during the current CIBER grant cycle, we partnered with all of the IU flagship centers. So we partnered with the Chinese, Swahili, and the Turkish flagship centers. So we switched it up a little bit. The flagships have amazing expertise and contacts, and so they've been instrumental in helping us with the program. They've also been able to provide some additional funding and to offset some of our costs, which allows us to provide more student scholarships. And it's also a great way for us to promote 3 unique languages and cultures, which we've seen it has helped drive student enrollment both here at IU and actually to other schools across the U.S., which has been great. We have a student that's enrolled currently in the Swahili flagship. We've had other students who haven't enrolled at IU, but they have participated in Swahili Start Talk programs across the country, and students sometimes decide not to enroll at IU for some reason that we don't understand, but they go to other schools and are enrolled in language programs. And we've got a great group of students that are here at IU and even in Kelly, which is an added bonus for us.
So, of course, if you're doing a program, it's always important to evaluate your program constantly. You always are trying to make it better, make it stronger, and so it's important to gather your data. And so these are just an example of some of the numbers and statistics that we try to gather each year, and it really kind of shows the growth of the program, both in size but also in diversity. You know, we do charge a program's fee for the Business is Global program. We do offer scholarships to offset some of the costs, but because we charge a fee, we do want to make sure that we are providing the highest value program that we can. So this is past growth. You can see we've grown from 18 students up to 28 last summer. The gender, we started out with 67% male students, and now we've almost completely flipped that, where we do have a female majority. And of course, our GPA has steadily risen over the years in the quality of our students. And of course, this year, the slide can switch. Yeah, and of course, this year we have grown even more. We have 37 students who have confirmed their place in the program. We are a little bit over a 50-50 gender ratio. We do have 57% female, and our GPA is holding steady at a 3.69. We have I'm really excited about this group of students. They're one of our more diverse in terms of where they're coming from. We have students coming from, I think around 44% are coming from Indiana, but we have students coming from Illinois, Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, around the Midwest. We have students from Virginia, New Jersey, Georgia on the East Coast. We have students from Tennessee in the South. We have a student from Arizona, Pennsylvania, and we have one student actually coming from Brazil. Not quite sure how she found out about our program, but we are happy to have her join us this summer as well.
Yeah, another thing about this summer that we're really excited about is we turned the corner on the number of students who are actually paying to attend the program. The past 3 years, we were actually awarding more scholarships than students that were paying for the program. And this summer, we actually have more students paying for the program, which is great in terms of sustainability once the CIBER grant ends.
So I guess the question is, how do we get these numbers? Well, if you want to have students attend your program, you have to do the legwork. You have to get your word out there. You have to try to increase the visibility of your program, increase the reputation of your program. You need to establish those relationships and those contacts really across your constituency. So we do a lot of different activities. We go to different conferences that are happening in the region. If there's for example, one conference I go to every year, it's a conference of social studies teachers in the Midwest area, but also there's different conferences for targeted at students as well. So for example, I was very fortunate to be able to attend a summer opportunities fair up in Chicago for the Daniel Murphy Scholarship Fund of students. As I think a little over 200 students attended that one, so it was a really great way. And of course, visiting schools, trying to find schools that will invite you to come in, usually during lunch hours, just use like a sort of 5 or 15-minute presentation during lunch, answer student questions, just a nice way to get your, kind of add a personal touch in trying to reach out to students. And of course, you have to make connections with teachers and guidance counselors. Those high school teachers and guidance counselors, they are our #1 recruiters. We do this a couple different ways. One way is we send out emails to them, letting them know about the program, that the applications are open, how they can reach us. We do physical mailing to about 750 schools. We are always growing our contact list of schools, both for the email and for the physical mailing. And that's something, graduate assistants are really great for that kind of work. But there's a lot of different options. You know, always start with your university's feeder schools and kind of work your way up from there. Social media, of course, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you want to make use of all of that because that's what your students are using. And we do try to create various media. For example, the lovely pictures that we have on these on this presentation are from the program from the past couple of years. We try to make sure that we have good photography coverage, but we also make a video. And Mohammed, I think, has mentioned the video a couple of times in the past. But we have a video on our website that we share with teachers. If we go to visits or conferences, we show the video there. But it's a great way to share about the experience in the students' own words. Do we want to show that? Or?
We're kind of getting close on time. So how big is our contact list?
We are currently over 11,000 emails.
Yeah, that's taken a lot of time to develop that contact list, a lot of time. So the money part. So when we started the program, we're very fortunate that we have a CIBER grant, so we're able to use CIBER funding. And the first 2 years, especially, we relied heavily on our CIBER funding to help cover the cost of the program. We did have we had some fee-paying students, and the program ran very, very lean in terms of, we tried to figure out the cheapest, most economical way to deliver everything so we could keep the cost down. We actually did increase the cost of the program this year because we were just running way too lean during the first 3 years. And we've been constantly looking for additional sources of funding. Again, we've been fortunate that the IU flagship programs and the IU School of Global and International Studies have all provided some funding. Last year, we received some private donations, and we have a few private donations as well. We've been floating the idea of, sponsor a student from your, your county or your town, and that is starting to gain some traction. We've been fortunate that our other Title VI centers on campus have provided some additional funding, and then also this year, the other CIBERs have been fantastic, and they've been willing to step up and sponsor the registration fees for students from their areas. So there are 17 CIBERs across the U.S., and so, for example, the student from Georgia, one of the Georgia CIBERs, is sponsoring her, as is the Temple CIBER for a student from Philadelphia. So we're extremely grateful to the CIBERs for their support. And we will continue to pound the pavement and look for different avenues. We're exploring working with the Rotaries across the country, and a lot of it just comes down to timing and making sure we're making the ask when, the timing is right for them to say yes. So it's taken quite a bit of time, but we're happy with the progress we've made so far.
And, we're not going to read these quotes for you, but, it's a program where we really have been able to have an impact, as the students' own words show, because this is a fantastic age group to work with if you want to have an impact, because this is an age group where from 1 week to the next you may be dealing with a completely different person. And so we always get questions of 2 weeks, how much impact or what can you do in 2 weeks? Well, for a 15-year-old, that's quite a bit that you can accomplish in 2 weeks. And so we're very proud of the ongoing and on-lasting impact that we have had on our students.
Well, and I think for those of us who have teenagers, they're always better behaved when they're not at home. So this group has been great. And they're here because they want to be here. All right, so these are our contacts details. We are happy to answer any questions, obviously, now, but also if something pops up later on, feel free to reach out to us. And then definitely check out the video. We didn't show it because it is a few minutes long, and so we didn't want to cut into the Q&A time. And then also potentially technical difficulties, because playing a video is always a challenge. But definitely check out the video. You'll see more of the students and hear their voice and their words about their experience. Okay.
Thank you so much, Christine and Emily. That was a great presentation, and thank you for your ongoing work and your efforts related to this program. Of course. Just a quick housekeeping note. If you have questions, you can tweet at us. Our handle is @GoGlobalEd, or you can put them in the chat box, and we will direct those to the speakers to answer them. In the meantime, I think we are going to try to play the video on our end and stream it right through. So hang tight.
Fantastic.
Business is global is a phrase that just in 3 words shows how interconnected the world is.
There's business all over the world, and the world's getting smaller each day.
You get to dip your feet in the experience of international business.
You're not in a vortex, it's not just the United States, or it's not just wherever you live. You're going to be influenced by all types of places, and I think it's important to know about these places so that you can do more business and understand the world.
I've done a lot of business competitions in the past, and I've been pretty interested in business, and it was actually my Chinese teacher that showed me this.
I decided to apply because I love languages. I always have. I'm trying to learn as many as I can before I get to college and have as many as I can for the working force.
We have taken Swahili, Mandarin, and Turkish.
These are languages that not only are not taught in high school but aren't taught as in-depth. I can hold a basic conversation in all 3 languages now, and on top of that, I have connections with the culture now. We did activities that classes will not introduce you to because there just isn't enough time.
Speaking those languages to native speakers and just seeing the smiles on their faces has definitely been my favorite part.
It kind of shows that you are humble enough to recognize that that culture is as important as yours.
We did Tai Chi, which is very relaxing. We've done calligraphy. We've cooked East African food, which is probably one of my favorite things.
We had a networking lunch where I met the CFO of Eli Lilly.
I actually took a whole year, like a program like this over the course of a year. And I'd say I learned more than that in just 2 weeks.
The classes do help a lot because you're taught from real college professors, so they're not used to teaching high schoolers, so they teach in the way they would teach college kids.
It's a different way to get in touch with the college world without being such a rough impact, I guess. And we get to try and fail without having like major consequences. That's why I think it is so important.
My favorite part in these past 2 weeks was probably meeting a bunch of like-minded people like me.
The friendship. I guess it was the best part ever.
Business is Global has taught me a lot about business. It has also taught me a lot about relationships and how to work with people as well, which are 2 things that I really wanted to learn.
With the people who are of a different mindset, you learn how to get along with them because it's necessary.
If you're not interested in business, you should be interested in life experience and friendship, so there's no loss.
Apply, because this is an unforgettable experience. You're not going to spend the entire time in classrooms. You're going to be learning outside, but in a way that isn't just looking at a textbook and reading. You are being immersed into the culture, you're being immersed into the language, and you're doing it while having fun, while meeting other people who come from all over the US, and in our case, even someone from Brazil. You won't regret coming here, and you will remember this forever.
Great, that was a great video. So we're actually going to go to some questions to see if folks have any questions. First question that actually came up is related to recruitment of underrepresented students. It looks like that's something that you all have emphasized and have tried to continue. Can you guys talk a little bit about any specific efforts to try to increase minority student enrollment or from underrepresented populations?
Sure. It's funny because we didn't start out doing that. The numbers just happened. And then after 2 years of that trend, it was like, oh, well, we should try to focus a little bit more on that. And so I'll let Emily take it from here.
Yeah, and I will say that, part of our fundraising efforts kind of go hand in hand with this because our underrepresented students do have a higher percentage of receiving funding than our non-underrepresented students. But, some of the activities we've done, so I mentioned the Daniel Murphy Scholarship Fund. That is a funding for high school students from underrepresented populations to attend charter schools that they otherwise would not be able to afford in the Chicago area. So trying to find organizations or partnerships such as that we can maybe work with or partner with to kind of help make sure that underrepresented students are, first of all, hearing about our program, but also making sure they realize that if cost isn't a concern with them, making sure they realize that we can support them and we can help them. And also a lot of times with not just underrepresented students, but just first-generation students in general, I always try to make sure that if I get any inquiries from a counselor or particularly a parent, that I take the time, I have the phone call, I write the numerous emails, but a lot of times it also involves reaching out to the parents and making sure that they know that I'm always there and they're always able to reach me.
We do also ask a question on the application to determine financial need, and so we ask if the students are eligible or on free or reduced lunch, which is a way, an easier way to try to determine, if students do have the financial need in order, to attend.
Great. Similar question actually has come up. How do you all connect with corporate partners, and what are your plans to continue to integrate corporate partners into the program?
That's an interesting question because IU and Kelly have very extensive development offices, and so we do work closely with them to make sure that they know about the program and what our needs are. And so sometimes they will go and ask the companies. Other times they'll say, okay, well, we don't have a relationship, you can go and ask the companies. And then also for some of the local companies, we've been really lucky that we've had people that are on our CIBER board or our institute board, or some of our staff members have been on their boards, and so we've been able to work those networks. And working the network is key because there's such a small pot of funds, corporate funds, and everyone's wanting their share. And so whenever we can leverage an inside person, that's been helpful.
It also seems to be nice if we can connect it geographically. So if there's a local bank and we say, your funding will go to a student from the area you serve, that also kind of helps.
Thank you, guys. So two other questions have come in. First is, how extensive is your language training in the few days that you have with the students?
I can answer that one. Obviously it's not extensive. So one of the things that we've run into as we've created the program is the way a college-level language course is structured. It's very different from how a high school language course is structured and conducted. And so we do meet with all of our language instructors as a group before the beginning of the program, and so the language instructors kind of decide together what are certain sort of themes or topics that we kind of want to hit with each language. And of course, one is always greetings. And so they try to structure because they only have the students for 3 days, so obviously you can't do a whole lot. But they try to structure it so it's more sort of interactive and real-life based. So they don't just tell you, here's how you greet a professor. They tell you, here's some basic greetings, and then maybe act out greeting someone coming into your shop. And so they try to do it sort of more real-world based, which also helps. So even though it's only 3 days and they really don't learn a lot, the students feel like they can have a basic conversation because the classes focus on real-world examples and real-world vocabulary.
Excellent. And you guys have a great opportunity with over 30 students attending the program every summer. Do you guys do anything with the students to make sure that when they get back to their respective schools or communities that they continue to talk about it? Are they ambassadors? How do you sort of treat them as alumni?
I can take that one. So part of that goes back to social media. We do create a closed Facebook group each year for the program, and of course we have Twitter accounts and Instagram accounts. And so part of it is we try to make sure we establish those relationships while we're here, and then follow up with them with social media. I actually do spend some time Facebook stalking our alumni, and I'm not shy to, hey, happy birthday, or hey, have you applied to colleges yet? So we do that sort of informal thing, but we also do a series of follow-up surveys, and we have students, when they come to the program, we have one of our many waivers that we are required to have students sign as a follow-up waiver, basically giving us permission to email them and send them surveys. And so we do a 6-month and a year survey. Sometimes we'll just do general alumni surveys to see, you know, just very basic, hey, what are you up to? Have you applied to college? What are you studying? Have you done any interesting activities? And a lot of the information we have about our alumni is voluntarily given to us. It's just one day, Christine and I will open up our inbox, and we have an email from a student from 2013 saying, hey, I just did a Star Talk program in Washington State with Swahili. You know, so a lot of it is it's voluntarily given to us. But in terms of recruitment, we haven't done as much development with that. Again, it's a lot of times it's things that the students do voluntarily. So one thing we do is we record the students' final presentations that they give to the judges, and we make that available to them after the program. And so we've had several students who, after the program, they're in a class for school and they share the video or they share information about their team project with their students or with their fellow students or with their teachers. We make sure that all the students get a copy of the photographs that we have taken in our video. We distribute the video to the students, and of course, students love sharing that video with anyone they've ever met, especially if they're one of the ones interviewed. And so that has done quite a bit as well, but it's not really something we've formally structured as yet.
Thank you. So in terms of future growth of the program, two questions. One, have you thought about working with other institutions or other CIBERs to scale this up to other schools, other universities, other communities? That's sort of the first question. The second question is, have you thought about using this model for other functional areas other than international business? So maybe like global public health. Is there maybe an opportunity to work with some public health programs? Same model, just different subject matter. Curious to see if you've explored those ideas.
Those are great questions, and we actually haven't explored yet collaborating with the other CIBERs to potentially do in their, in different areas, but that is a great suggestion and would be a great idea for the next grant cycle. And then in terms of collaborating here with other programs, no, we hadn't thought about that. We actually run another program in the summer that's modeled after this. We had actually started planning big, and then we had another opportunity come up, and there's some similarities across the programs, but we work with the State Department on a program for students across the MENA region, which is an entrepreneurship boot camp, and so we've expanded with that program. But great ideas.
Thanks. We're happy to do what we can to help you guys out with that. Let's check and see if we have any more questions for anybody on the line. If you've got any questions, you may want to ask them now or forever hold your peace, or you can obviously reach out to the folks at IU Direct. It doesn't look like we have any additional questions, so I want to say thank you so much to Emily and Christine for their great presentation and taking the time out of their busy schedules to do this for us. We're super proud to have you guys as part of the Title VI community, and keep up the good work. So again, join us next month for our next in the series of Grantee Showcase webinars. We will be working on getting this video online on the IFLE YouTube channel. Remember, you can keep in touch with us either over email, you can go to our website, you can check out our YouTube channel, or follow us on Twitter. Our handle's @GoGlobalEd. So with that, I want to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day weekend. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you next month.
Great. Thanks, Mohammed.
Thanks, guys. Good day. Bye-bye.